My name is Isabella. I live in Ohio. I'm 29 years old. I work as a cashier at a grocery store in a quiet part of town. I live alone in a small apartment. I never had many boyfriends before. I always believed in simple love. 2 people, 1 home, and 1 life. That's how I thought love worked. But I was wrong. I met Adam at the coffee shop next to my job. He came there almost every day. He always ordered the same thing, black coffee and a muffin. One day he looked at me and said, "You work at Green Mart, right?" I said yes. We talked for a few minutes. He smiled a lot. He made me laugh. A few days later, he waited outside the store after my shift. He asked me to eat dinner with him. I said yes. I didn't even think. I just wanted to see him again. We went to a small diner down the street. He told me about his job at a car rental company. He said he was from Michigan, but had lived here for 4 years. He said he liked movies, long drives, and spicy food. I told him about my job, my family, and my quiet life. We talked for hours. It felt easy. It felt real. We started seeing each other often. We took walks near the lake. We went to the movies. We shared food. After 2 months, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I said yes. He made me feel special. I liked being close to him. 6 months later, we moved in together. He found us a 1-bedroom apartment. It was small but clean. I liked the big windows and the soft carpet. I was excited. In the beginning, it was nice. He cooked for us sometimes. He hugged me in the mornings. He called me sweet names. He sent me short texts during the day. He would say, "Miss you," or "Can't wait to see you." I felt lucky. I told my friends, "He's really kind." But after the first year, things began to change. He started coming home later. He didn't text as much. When I asked about work, he said, "It's fine, just busy." He stopped asking me about my day. He spent more time on his phone. One night, I saw a message on his phone. It was from someone called Kelly from office. It said, "Still thinking about last weekend." I asked him, "Who is Kelly?" He laughed and said, "Just a client. She jokes like that." He didn't look worried. He just changed the topic. I wanted to believe him. I didn't want to fight, so I stayed quiet. After that, he started keeping his phone close. He never left it on the table again. He took it everywhere, even to the bathroom. Sometimes he smiled at his screen when he thought I wasn't watching. I saw it. I felt something was wrong, but I didn't say anything. On my birthday, he made dinner plans. He gave me a necklace. It was silver with a small heart. He said, "You mean the world to me." I smiled and thanked him. At the table, he held my hand. He looked into my eyes. I felt happy. Then his phone buzzed. He looked down and picked it up. While holding my hand, he typed something with his other hand. I saw the screen. The message said, "I wish I was there with you." It was from someone saved as Mike. I knew it wasn't Mike. I pulled my hand away. He asked, "What's wrong?" I said, "You really think I don't see what's going on?" He said, "It's not serious. Just texts. I never met her." I got up and left the restaurant. At home, he said sorry again and again. He said he loved me. He said it was just a mistake. He said he would stop. I cried that night. I said, "If it happens again, I'm leaving." He promised it wouldn't. For a while, things got better. He texted me during the day. He came home early. He watched TV with me. He made me tea before bed. I thought maybe we could move past it. Then one Sunday, I was cleaning our room. I picked up his jacket. His phone was in the pocket. It buzzed. I looked at the screen. It said, "Last night felt real." The name was saved as Tire Shop. I didn't open the message. I just put the phone on the table. When he came home, he saw the phone. He looked at me. He didn't speak. I said, "Again?" He stayed quiet. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I felt tired. I asked, "Why do you keep doing this?" He said, "I don't know, but I love you." That night, I slept on the couch. I didn't want to be near him. The next day, he sent me a message. It said, "I'll do better. Please come home." I didn't answer. I needed time. A whole week passed. We didn't talk much. He tried to be kind. He brought me dinner. He waited for me to speak first. One night I was watching a movie on the sofa. He came and sat next to me. He didn't say anything. After a few minutes, he reached for my hand. I let him hold it. I didn't look at him. His phone buzzed. He didn't stop holding my hand. With the other hand, he opened his phone and typed a reply. I looked down. The screen said, "She's not looking. Call you soon." I pulled my hand away. I stood up. I said, "I saw it." He looked at me. He didn't try to lie. He didn't say anything. I walked to the bedroom. I locked the door. I sat on the bed for a long time. I didn't move. I just sat in silence. That night I thought about everything. The first day we met. The sweet texts. The gifts. The lies. The other women. I thought about how many chances I gave him. I asked myself, is this love? Is this what I want forever? I didn't have an answer. Not yet. But I knew something had to change. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. The morning after I saw the message, I stayed in bed for a long time. The room was quiet. I listened to the cars outside. I could hear people walking past my window. It was a normal day for the world. But something inside me was not normal. I felt tired. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to speak. I looked at the ceiling and waited for a new thought to come, but it didn't. Later, I made myself a cup of tea. I sat in the kitchen and held the cup with both hands. The tea was warm, but I still felt cold. Adam was in the living room. He didn't say anything. He stayed quiet. We didn't look at each other. The silence filled the room like a heavy blanket. I started to go to work early. I didn't want to be in the apartment. I said hello to my coworkers. I smiled when they talked. I tried to act normal, but inside I felt like a balloon without air. Empty. I did my job and kept my eyes down. I didn't want to answer questions. At night, I came home and cooked simple food. I ate alone. He sat on the sofa and stared at the TV. We lived in the same space, but it felt like two different homes. Sometimes he walked into the kitchen while I was there. I moved away. I didn't want him near me. Every small sound made me notice his phone. I heard the buzz, and my heart jumped. I looked at his face, but I never asked. I didn't want to see more. I didn't want to check. I just waited. I waited for something to make sense. One evening, I opened the closet and saw my old suitcase. I touched it for a long time. I didn't take it out. I just stood there. I thought about packing my things. I thought about where I could go. I didn't have family in the city. My sister was 3 hours away. I didn't want to tell her. I didn't want to feel like a failure. I remembered the early days, the coffee shop, the small dates, the smiles. They felt like someone else's memories. I looked at myself in the mirror. My face looked tired. My eyes looked dull. I didn't feel like myself. I felt like a shadow in my own life. A week passed like this. Then another. I cleaned the apartment. I folded laundry. I washed the dishes. I did everything without thinking. My body moved, but my mind stayed quiet. One night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window and looked at the street. A dog barked far away. A car passed slowly. I thought about leaving. I imagined waking up in another place. A place where no one lied to me. A place where I could rest. But I stayed. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just stayed. At work, I watched people laugh. I saw couples hold hands. I heard stories about new babies and weekend trips. I smiled and nodded, but I felt far away from all of it. I felt like a stranger. I remembered how I used to laugh with Adam. I remembered how I used to wait for his texts. I remembered how I used to think we were lucky. Those thoughts felt old now. One afternoon, I saw him sitting on the sofa. His phone was in his hand. He looked tired too. I wondered if he felt anything. I wondered if he missed the way things were. But I didn't ask. I didn't want the answer. I started taking longer walks after work. I walked past small houses and quiet parks. I watched kids ride bikes. I looked at trees. I listened to the wind. I didn't take my phone. I didn't want noise. I wanted silence. At night, I sat in the bedroom and looked at the walls. The pictures on the wall showed smiles, but those moments were gone. They were part of a story I didn't believe anymore. One Saturday, I cleaned out the kitchen drawer. I found old receipts from dinner dates, movie tickets, a note he once wrote. I put them in a bag and didn't look again. I put the bag under the sink. I didn't want to throw it away yet, but I didn't want to see it either. I made a list in my head, things I could do alone, a new job, a new room, a new town. I didn't write it down. I just kept it in my mind, like a quiet plan. Each day, I grew more quiet. I watched the days go by. I counted the hours. I didn't wait for change. I didn't hope for a new beginning. I just wanted peace. I began to notice small things. How he locked his phone again. How he looked away when I walked in. how he stayed out later. He didn't try to explain. He didn't say sorry. He just acted like nothing was wrong. But everything was wrong. I no longer wanted his touch. I no longer felt close to him. I no longer wanted to ask, why? I just wanted to leave the pain behind. Some mornings, I looked at my suitcase again. I still didn't open it, but I knew the time was close. Something inside me had changed. It didn't break. It didn't cry. It just went quiet. I didn't need to see more messages. I didn't need to hear more lies. I already knew. I had nothing more to give. And soon, I would go. The sun came up slowly that day. The light moved across the floor in my room. I sat on the edge of the bed. My eyes looked at the window, but my thoughts were not there. I had been quiet for too long. I had waited for change that never came. That morning, I knew it was time. I walked to the closet and opened it. My old suitcase sat in the corner. I pulled it out and placed it on the bed. I opened the drawers and took my clothes out. I folded them and placed them in the suitcase. I didn't move fast. I didn't rush. Each fold felt like a small goodbye. I packed only what I needed. A few shirts, pants, socks, my toothbrush, a book I liked, a photo of my sister. I left the rest. I didn't want to take memories that hurt. I wanted to feel light when I walked away. When he woke up, he saw the suitcase. He didn't speak. I didn't speak. I picked up my phone and called for a ride. The air in the room was still. The silence said everything. He stood there, watching. But I didn't look back. I had nothing left to say. I left the apartment without a fight. There were no tears, no questions, just the sound of the front door closing. I stepped into the car and didn't look behind me. I felt the seat under me. I felt my bag on my lap. I felt free. I went to my sister's home. She lived in a quiet part of the city. Her apartment was small but warm. She opened the door and let me in. She didn't ask many questions. She gave me a blanket, a cup of tea, and space. The first few days felt slow. I didn't want to talk much. I sat on the balcony and looked at the sky. I watched cars go by. I watched birds fly past the window. I listened to the quiet sounds of the street. I didn't check my phone. I didn't wait for messages. Each morning I made coffee and sat at the table. I didn't feel strong yet, but I felt safe. I didn't have to listen for a phone buzz. I didn't have to wonder where he was. I didn't have to feel small in my own home. I cleaned up after myself. I folded my laundry. I helped my sister with her plants. I went to the grocery store and bought bread and milk. I started to do normal things again, little things that made me feel like myself. At night, I lay on the couch and read a book. I turned the pages slowly. I didn't care how fast I finished. The words didn't change my life, but they helped me feel quiet. I liked the sound of the pages turning. After a week, I started looking for a new job. I found a small store nearby. They needed help with the morning shift. I went in and asked for work. The woman there smiled and gave me a form to fill. I got the job the next day. The store was calm. People came in for snacks, drinks, and small talk. I stood behind the counter and greeted them. I learned their names. They learned mine. I felt part of something again. Sometimes I thought about him, not with pain, just with memory. I thought about how he smiled in the beginning, how he made me feel seen, how it all started so well. But I also remembered how it changed. The lies, the quiet nights, the messages. I didn't miss the pain. I didn't miss the waiting. I didn't miss the person I became in that apartment. I didn't miss the fear in my chest every time his phone lit up. One day, I walked to the park after work. The trees moved in the wind. Kids played near the swings. A man walked his dog. I sat on a bench and closed my eyes. I listened to the world around me. I felt calm. I started painting in the evenings. My sister had old supplies in a box. I didn't know how to paint well, but it didn't matter. I liked the colors. I liked moving the brush across the paper. It gave my hands something to do. It gave my mind a place to rest. I made a few new friends in the neighborhood. We met at the coffee shop. We talked about movies and food. No one asked about my past. They smiled when I spoke. They asked about my favorite songs. I laughed again. Some nights, I stood at the window and looked at the stars. I thought about the version of me who stayed too long. I felt sorry for her. She loved too hard. She waited too much. She believed too often. But I didn't hate her. I knew she did her best. She wanted to fix what was broken. She wanted love to be enough. But sometimes love is not enough. Now I knew what I needed. I needed honesty. I needed peace. I needed to feel safe in my own home. I didn't need someone to tell me I mattered. I didn't need someone to hold my hand while they lied. I needed to hold my own hand and walk away. One morning, I woke up and smiled. No reason, just a quiet smile. I got up. I made toast. I drank orange juice. I tied my shoes and left for work. The sky was clear. The wind was soft. I was still healing. I was still learning. But I was not broken. I had walked away. I had saved myself. That was enough. This was not the life I planned, but it was a new life. A better one.